Fuck you. Alright. This is how our day began last Saturday. My friend Zach and I made our way inside Revel Fulton Market on Chicago's Near West Side for a closed event as part of a preview tour for Nintendo's latest home console. The sights and sounds of a world engulfed in Nintendo branding and PR hype were immediately overwhelming. We were greeted the way a studio audience might greet a beloved sitcom character or talk show guest, and we all knew who the star of the show was, right there before us, in a myriad of colors, configurations, and potential use cases. The Nintendo Switch, no longer the mysterious NX of tomorrow, was being given a stage and a spotlight to show itself off to an eager public. The show floor was divided between a number of games and Switch configurations, with the bulk of the room being taken up by these mock living rooms made to show off games in TV mode. These little uniform stations also happen to house all the third-party games coming to the Switch in the near future. Nintendo's own properties, 1-2-Switch, ARMS, Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, Splatoon, and The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild, were each given their own discrete zones, covered in posters and other giant marketing materials that created Nintendo's ideal spaces to show off their own games. We made our way from station to station, prioritizing new and different experiences that the Switch could offer, as well as things that we were personally interested in. Our first priority was Snipper Clips, a little game where 1 to 4 players cut shapes out of each other to solve puzzles. It's really cute. It was co-developed by Nintendo and SFB Games, which is an indie studio not known for terribly much, but if Snipper Clips is any indication of their work, I'm excited for what they come up with next. The game was shown to us in tabletop mode, with each of us taking hold of a Joy-Con and crowding around the Nintendo Switch's tablet screen. You know, the thing that's actually the entire console. That's still weird to me. So let's talk about these Joy-Cons. As expected, the moment I held one in my hands, I wanted to eat it. I don't know, it's something about that matte finish and the colors and the way that certain type of plastic feels. I want to eat them. They are candy treats. Apart from that though, build quality is nice. Nothing feels creaky or half-baked. The buttons are clicky, the thumbsticks are nice and responsive. The size, not too small. Not too small at all. In fact, they feel pretty good in the hand. Overall, it feels pretty cool that each of these can be used as a discrete controller this way. As for the tablet screen, from a distance it looked a bit too small for 2 or more people to crowd around, but once we sat in front of it, the game sucked us right in. Snipper Clips is adorable and fun and downloadable for $20, and that's totally worth it. Our next big experience just had to be the one, the only 1-2-Switch. For this, we were crowded into a booth, since a few 1-2-Switch games depend on being able to hear audio cues, and we were in there with a few other pairs of people, so we got to see more than just the games that we played. The moral of this story is that Nintendo has motion controls figured out. The accelerometers and gyroscopes in the Joy-Cons mean that the console isn't dependent on a visible IR connection or positional tracking like the Wii. Rather, the Joy-Cons are able to sense their own position and orientation, and then send that information to the console. 1-2-Switch was some of the most fun I had with the Switch, and it was Zach's most anticipated game of the event, for one reason: milking virtual cows.
Bottom one, as you're going down, and then you let go as you go up. Ready? Start.
What have we learned here today? Zach can milk a cow, but good.
Zach can milk a cow, but good.
We also got our hands on some HD Rumble goodness as we tried to guess the number of marbles in a box, and it's nuts. This tiny thing is able to replicate the feeling of physical objects in a way that you really need to feel for yourself. During the 1-2 Switch demo, the Nintendo staff would also periodically swap the Switch between TV mode and tabletop mode, so Nintendo is clearly eager to show that this thing is real and it works. Next, we got to play some Mario Kart in both TV mode in this guy's living room and handheld mode over at what I call the Waluigi Diner, a name that Zach found disappointing for its relative lack of Waluigi themes and branding. In handheld mode, again, not too big, not too small. It feels comfortable to hold up, and that screen shines. Everything that I played looks super great on that screen. They did not relegate tabletop and handheld to second-class status. That size feels very good in your hands. It's great. While playing handheld Mario Kart, we were playing 4-player multiplayer, and each of us had a handheld Switch, and the experience was really smooth, so it was probably a local wireless as opposed to Wi-Fi, but that wasn't specified. The only other thing about Mario Kart is that in TV mode, both the motion controls and the stick controls were on at the same time. That might be the default. It is bad, and I hope you can turn that off. Speaking of motion controls, our next stop was the creatively named ARMS, whose tutorial contained the best instruction I have ever read in a video game tutorial.
Punch to punch. It's the best tutorial thing I've ever read. Punch to punch.
Again, the motion controls are good and responsive. Not sure they're the most intuitive in this game. Maybe it takes time to adjust. The Joy-Cons also, again, feel great in the hand. They are absolutely covered in buttons, however, which might pose a problem for some folks. I accidentally started the game before we were ready at one point, but probably not a huge deal. At this point, I insisted that we check out Sonic Mania. Zach wasn't super jazzed, but Sonic the Hedgehog on the Genesis was my first video game, so I need this. So I haven't really been talking about any of the other games here at length because I want to focus on the console experience, but I really need to overflow on Sonic Mania here for a minute. I love it. It is so very good looking. Every animation is slick and gorgeous, and the whole thing is a zippy 60 FPS dream. The levels have excellent flow, the character models are fantastic, the colors are bright and poppy, music is entirely on point. This thing actually feels like a Sonic game. It's the first Sonic game to feel that way since, like, Sonic 3 and Knuckles. I love it. I want it. I want it, I love it. At this station, I also took the chance to dock and undock the Switch for myself. I also did that at Zelda. The changeover when you pull that thing out of the dock is quick. Docking it back to the TV takes a second or two, but switching from TV to handheld is basically instantaneous. There's actually a lot more to the development of Sonic Mania, and it's a really interesting story, so if you want more of that, you should definitely go check out Nick Robinson's video over at Polygon talking about why Sonic Mania is so exciting. Finally, our last stop of the day. It's Zelda time.
One last courtesy call from Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild. Session 8. Session 8, this is your final courtesy call. Time to line up Session 8.
It was actually kind of a disappointing demo. We started right at the beginning of the game, so it was mostly cutscenes. Didn't get a lot of gameplay in, and for as much as they tried to put this thing in its own little pen, it really wasn't the greatest environment to play in. In TV mode, we played with the Pro Controller, which we used for a few other games as well. It feels good. It feels about how you would expect a Pro Controller to feel. The buttons are mushy rather than clicky like the Joy-Cons, but that suits the form factor well. I also pulled the Switch out to play some handheld Zelda, and what I noticed there, and this was kind of surprising, was that using the right face buttons, the A, B, X, Y, was kind of awkward. You kind of had to reach over the right thumbstick, it would kind of get in the way, and switching between those two didn't feel great. It's weird because every other bit of this console experience seems like really carefully considered, but I guess that's just one of the trade-offs that they had to make if they wanted the controllers to feel uniform. Overall, that's pretty much the takeaway from this event. Not too big, not too small was kind of the vibe I got from the whole Switch experience. This is a console that you can transform and take with you and use in a number of different ways, and you know that Nintendo had to make some difficult hardware decisions to get that right. And I don't think they took that responsibility lightly. In using this console in TV mode, handheld mode, tabletop mode, you can really feel Nintendo riding that line between what would be too big in one situation versus what would be too small in another, and all told, I think they found their happy medium. I never felt frustrated while playing it in any of the configurations, and while I look back and think the screen was a bit small in tabletop mode, It was perfect in handheld mode, and being able to play a full console game with friends while taking up next to no space on a table or a bench or a floor sounds like an incredible dream. In marketing the Switch, Nintendo has been promising an all-in-one console, something you can play on the TV, play as a handheld, and take out and prop up and play anywhere as though it itself is the TV. And in my short time experiencing all that the Switch has to offer, I honestly think they nailed it.
Post-milking. How do you feel? I'm not playing this up. I'm just really excited to play this fucking milking game. This is not an exaggeration. He is not being ironic at all. I'm a little bit out of breath. I'm a little bit shaky that I did so well in this milking game.
You did really well.
This is the sum of dreams.